Hi, friends. Now we're recording. Let me go ahead and share my screen with the Google Doc. I think y'all should be able to see it. Looks like most of you guys are on there, so thanks for playing already, as it is. So what I did was I summarized basically what I just said in the last few minutes, that we've restructured these calls to be more like a workshop instead of a just discussion or me answering people's questions. And then the outcomes that we decided as the group that was on the call in October was that we wanted to have an opportunity to have small group discussions around a topic, a problem, or an idea related to Nature's Notebook implementation. And then they also recognize the value of meeting and learning other leaders working on similar issues, even if their programs are a little different. And the other thing folks wanted was to have contact information from those folks and hear about the successes that they'd had from each of their programs. And so the spreadsheet that I made takes care of that. There's two tabs. There's one that has a place where you can enter your contact information. I see where folks have that on there, so thank you. And then the second tab is if you wanted to put your name, and this is related to what we used to do before, where I asked people to celebrate something that was successful related to Nature's Notebook in the last month. You don't have to do that right now, but I've shared the doc with you. So at any time during today's call, feel free to go in and fill out that information. And I think we'll be good to go. So the next thing to talk about are the problems or suggestions that we had compiled from last month. And I pulled two of them out thinking that that would be enough. We actually came up with four, but I think we have a small enough group of folks on the phone that we can break into two teams and have a pretty robust discussion. And the things that we discussed that we would start with include the two things there that I have under group 1 and group 2. So one was to discuss preliminary activities that you might do with students or adults to build up using Nature's Notebook. So like an implementation guide or a progression of activities that you might do to introduce folks to collecting observations using the Nature's Notebook protocols. And a little note there is these could include activities designed to teach botany concepts, observational skills, any number of things. And so we do have a bunch of those activities already on Nature's Notebook, the activities table. And I have an implementation guide for 6th graders. That's a good place to start. I can, after I'm done talking, because I can't talk and search for things at the same time, I will pull the link down to that and put it here on this Google Doc so that you can use that as a reference. But you know, then I will just turn it over to that group to discuss other ideas or things that might happen to fulfill that preliminary activity question that was asked. The second thing was folks were really interested in having more curriculum that incorporates the visualization tool. And again, we have just a handful of lessons that I've already made, a handful of activities that some of our colleagues have made that have to do with teaching people how to use the visualization tool. But the message was that we needed several more of those online. So I think that is something else that was definitely of interest that people were thinking about would be helpful. So before I move on, does anybody have any questions or anything to add to those two topics? Do we need any clarifying?
I have a quick question.
Sure.
Do you have an app, an application, a mobile phone or tablet application for the recording of the Phenology data? Right?
Yes, right.
Is it working? Because last time I tried, actually the only time I tried and last, it didn't work at all. So I wanted to know if it was something that was solid, working, or if you had issues and you were working on that.
Yep, no, it's been working. So sometimes what might need to happen is it's something with the phone or the tablet. So maybe just uninstall it and then reinstall it and see if that works. We are in the process of redesigning that also, and I think the target is to have a new release of the app in the springtime that should be a little bit easier to use. We've done a lot of focus groups and listening sessions on fixing the app because it's been around for about 4 or 5 years. So that release is coming soon. And we haven't had anybody really reporting any widespread problems. So I think it's just kind of hit or miss if it stops working.
All right, thank you.
Sure, yeah. What else? Any other questions about anything or the topics to discuss? All right. Well, the other thing that I've made for each of the groups are some guiding steps for the discussion. And you can use this to a T if you want to have this be the guide for your discussion, or if somebody has a better idea, by all means, document it on there, and that's how you can work through coming up with some ideas for the solution. But the things that we suggested were to describe the program and the implementation methodology. So I think that would be just to take a minute to further discuss what I've briefly listed here as the topic or issue or thing that's desired, so everybody in the group has clarity on what that's for. And then to take a minute to identify or describe the problem. And I see that as being anything from Nature's Notebook doesn't have enough information on how to do this. There aren't any lesson plans that I know of that include this, or anything really. So whatever you think is problematic with that thing, that's what I'm seeing as what we would like for you to identify and describe the problem or issue. And then from there, I think is where you can start to collect some feedback and ideas and solutions for that particular problem or issue to help people move it forward. And that's really what I would love to see documented mostly in this section. It would be helpful if somebody would document the discussion leading up to that, just so that people that are not here, if they can't listen to the recording, can at least get a sense of the things that you touched on in your conversation. But really the idea, of course, is to have some sort of solution or method to work towards a solution after that. And then after we are done discussing in our small groups, we'll bring everybody back together and just kind of do a quick debrief on the wonderful solutions that you guys came up with, or suggestions about things that you need. Okay. I think the other thing that would be helpful in that discussion is to think about resources that can be called upon to make that one thing. And I say that sort of selfishly, but I don't think that a valid answer would be, well, Lorianne just needs to make another activity that incorporates the visualization tool. Because that's not the answer. It's not going to help happen any faster than it already is happening. So I'm asking you guys to really kind of put on your thinking caps. If somebody in your group has that skill set and at least wants to try that or take ownership over it, then I definitely recommend at least throwing your name down as somebody that would be willing to have a further conversation about what that would look like. Because again, this is a community of practice. This isn't a community of let's collect all the things that Lorianne needs to do so that this can be a better program. Although I'm happy to do as much as I can to help you guys get what you need. I think we're at the point where, again, you guys all have better ideas than I do even. And if you're got a class in the field and you're really ready to do a visualization tool lesson, then, you know, let me help you figure out how to do that. But let's put our heads together and make that happen. Okay? Makes sense? Okay. So the next couple steps before we break into our groups would be, I'll give you all a minute to think about which of those topics you want to help tackle today. If you don't really have an opinion, then you can just pick one. That's okay. And then what I do want to make sure that we do before I break into groups is to have somebody that's willing to at least be a lead or kind of move the discussion along as needed. And also somebody to press that record button in there, because I can't be in both of the rooms at the same time. So somebody's going to have to turn on that recording when we get in there. I think it'll show up on the toolbar on the bottom. So it would just involve clicking the button. And then if it's easier, maybe appoint someone to be a note taker to document your conversation as you're going along. or if you guys feel more comfortable with everybody just typing into the Google Doc, I think that's fine too. So I'll leave it to you all to do that. Okay. So I will, if you want to tell me which group you would like to join, I can write that down now, or I can put, what I need to do is put you into the groups in the breakout session. So if you guys are ready to hop over and do that, then let me know. Let me see what happens when I click this button. I think I can move people. Yeah, I can assign people to the rooms. So breakout room 1 will be for group 1, and that will be the discussion about a progression of activities to build up to using Nature's Notebook. Do we have any folks interested in tackling that?
I like group 1.
If you could tell me your name when you say that too, because I can't see your picture.
Heather.
Is it Heather? Okay. Because the cameras are
so
hidden. It's just like a random voice out there. Okay, Heather will do group 1. Thanks, Heather.
I'm happy to be in group 1 too. It's Linda.
Okay, thanks, Linda.
And so is Mike.
Okay, thanks, Mike. I see somebody is chatting. Hang on one second. Let me see if I can pull that up at the same time. Okay, that was just Mitra saying she had to hop off. No worries. Okay, anybody else for group 1?
Sure, Stella.
Okay, thanks, Stella.
Amanda will do group 1 as well.
Okay. So Blake, Claire, and Aaron, are you guys okay with group 2?
Yeah.
So we have at least a group. That's good. Is that okay? Okay, cool. So let me see. Blake, Claire, Aaron. Got it. All right, so I think when I click on the button to open all rooms, I will let you guys jockey around, and then if somebody does want to be the point person to start it, that would be great. And then I'll float back and forth between the two. So I'll see you in a few minutes.
Okay.
All right, and let's put a target on this for, let's do, I don't know, 20 minutes and see where we are. We'll check in and see if we need more time or if that seems to be enough. Sound good?
Yep.
Okay, cool. On your mark, get set, go. I think it'll give you a box to join the room. Everybody's coming back now. I think they just need to hit the button. People just need to hit the button. There they are.
That's when you say go now.
No, immediately.
Still finishing.
So, how did we do? Did you guys do good?
Yeah, good conversations.
Yeah, it was good.
Good. So I see some great notes that I will take a look at for sure. But one thing that I think maybe emerged from me listening to your conversation is that this is kind of just the beginning maybe of that particular discussion around that topic.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we want to set aside some time in the January meeting to finish discussing that topic and or work on some things in the interim between now and then that we can bring together and share.
Mm-hmm.
I think that way, if folks weren't able to join today and they wanted to hop on these particular topics too, they could join us next month. But what are your thoughts on that? What do you guys think about that?
Sounds like a good plan.
Yeah, I agree. It was just kind of, we just touched the surface of it. And I think,
Yeah.
I don't know about for me, but I'm still trying to figure out what I'm doing.
Right.
I think once I get going, I'll have a better understanding of what'll work, what doesn't work, good ideas, bad ideas. So, yeah.
That sounds good.
It's Blake and Erin. Who did one of us took notes? Take notes.
Yeah, I'm finishing up on them
Blake's typing.
underneath the group 2 workspace.
Good
right
for you.
now. Yeah.
Thank you.
Because I don't think we said anything specifically about that. So thank you.
No, I was keeping it all up here.
Great, that's great.
Taking it down.
So if you guys are still okay to hang out for a few more minutes, do you want to have somebody from each group just do an overview of what you discussed for the good of the group, and then we can all hear that?
I think Blake is the person we're going to nominate. Go ahead.
Yes. Blake, you want to do your groups
No problem. No
summarization of what you talked about?
So we started focusing on kind of what the visualization tool already had, and it has under, if you go to the activities page to find a different curriculum, you can type in tools, hit apply, and that gives you an idea of what to find with the visualization tool. And one of them is a 2-pager giving you an idea of observation deck. And here's some 4 steps about visualization tool, which then is to take you to the tool itself with the web tutorials, which are wonderfully done. However, some potential gaps that we've noticed, perhaps having the web tutorials in more of a written format of a standard operating procedure. And you can't do it for each and every possible situation, but just like the tutorials at least allude to how it can be used. Would just be nice to have a PDF so someone can print it out rather than, oh, just watch this thing.
Right.
And so especially someone has not so good internet connection, that might help. In terms of curriculum, I should say, focused on a few things. One of them would be maybe having an activity for those of us who enjoy writing and such as, well, maybe focus on an activity of, hey, here is how you go through the visualization tool in writing a report. And there's already great local phenology leader examples of doing annual reports, but maybe an activity that just focuses on, here's like how to develop a little 500-word essay or shorter or something to kind of get introduced into that would be cool. And resources, of course, are the LPL examples and condensing that already exist, as well as the tutorials from the visualization tool. It's just taking that and applying, oh, this is what I'm doing, and incorporating the focus on building your question before you start anything.
Yeah.
So, and then another one would be an activity that goes over different types of plots. You have the scatter plot. What type of variables show? An activity that shows, here's some of the more useful things that are, at least for citizen scientists that maybe don't have a science background. Here's something that might just immediately be more useful to you, a little more focus onto the vast tool that has, as well as, I think there's, in terms of the calendar and things like that's pretty well covered. But those are some of the quick ideas that we came up with in this time frame. Was reports, how to do that a little bit more, and how to use the tool in that sense, and then a little more activities looking at plots themselves, making the plots, and then talking about the plots.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. That's great. I had one question about the operating procedure, I guess, if that's what you guys are calling it, is are you thinking that would be just kind of a short 1-page, here's the steps on what to do or click on to make a calendar or something like that? Is that what you were thinking that would look like for the basic written?
I'm actually thinking something a little bit longer, because I think that kind of already exists in the 2-pager that's up there. But something that's a little bit longer and more detailed with screenshots of each icon and things like that. And then that could easily be converted to, say, like a lab exercise or an activity. And so right now there are a couple of resources already that say, like, use the visualization tool to answer this question. And I think then maybe tacking on a tutorial with that, so you see, okay, and here is the point where you select this, whatever you're comparing. Because part of our audience includes adult learners that maybe are less used to using these kinds of tools, and so having an actual step-by-step instead of just a broad what's available to you, I think might be more helpful. And I don't know if that already exists.
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
We haven't really gone deep enough into applications with the visualization tool in certain situations.
It's essentially, I mean, the YouTube videos do that. It's more just a written version of that so that you can edit it and modify for whatever activity.
And there is another important thing about it is it's very quick in a sense. When you have to go through a YouTube, then suddenly you have to dig it 5 minutes, 10 minutes. when you have a document, you can just, scan, jump, click, right?
Exactly.
Basically, that's that. So
I
that's,
think it also helps when you're in the middle of it and you're like, oh, I forgot how to do
Yeah.
this thing. You can jump to the previous page more easily than clicking through the video
Right.
and trying to figure out
yes.
where it went.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, so
Nice.
I've actually started working on that a little bit, and maybe I'll send that your way when we'll probably
Yeah.
do a trial run in some classes here, but yeah.
That sounds
That's cool.
awesome. Yeah.
That's cool.
That sounds really great. Good. Okay. Thanks for sharing. And group 1, do you guys want to just give a highlight of what you talked about?
Yeah, we have discussed many, many really good activities that can help orient newer phenology citizen scientists to get them ready to use Nature's Notebook. And first we have Scavenger Hunt, and that can be like butterfly or flower or seed hunts. It all depends on your phenology project, in particular what you want to orient your audience to. And we also have plant rubbings using rice paper or other types of paper with larger crayon blocks, and those are particularly fun for younger students. And you can have different life phases such as leaves, flowers, and seeds. So they're doing art, they can take that home and they're still, studying, getting used to and familiarized with the different life stages.
Mm-hmm.
We also can have life cycle matching games to compare phenophase of similar organisms such as animals, because we're animals, so we can look at life cycles of humans, of frogs, of butterflies, and then we can progress onto less similar organisms such as plants or whatever your target. What do you want to prepare? So if you want them to study plants, that's what you want to be shooting for at the next level. And we can also have iNaturalist, which is an app that can that if you snap a photo of an organism, and other iNaturalist users can help you to correctly ID, the organisms, and that can be turned into a competition, such as a game where you're trying to ID the most organisms, and there are also ways you can create a field guide on iNat. So that can be
nice.
Like a friendly competition and also collaboration, creating the same.
Yeah.
And then we also have PowerPoints, and that can use some of the engaging components to supplement the PowerPoint presentation, such as pair share and group discussions, or including, combining some of the hands-on activities that we just mentioned. We can have a guided walk, and whoever put down guided walk, would you like to add more to that? Because I do guided walk too. But it's less about orienting my group to Nature's Notebook. It's more about understanding like the background, the setting of our site.
Yeah. So. You described that in that lesson plan that you just turned in to me for the course. So that I thought that was great. I thought that was a really great idea. And I think the other thing that you talked about in that group was coming up with ideas for scaling those activities up or down based on the audience that you're working with. I mean, a great example is your iNaturalist activity. I literally just told the master gardeners in Phoenix when I did a presentation for them on Wednesday, that same thing that you just added, and they were totally into it. So I don't think that is necessarily something that is just for kids. I think adults can get a lot out of those kinds of activities too, or college kids can get a lot out of those too. So
yeah, I use it every day.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's fun.
It's one of the best complementary citizen science programs to Nature's Notebook, I think.
And we do that exactly. We use them, together.
Right.
They are. I mean, for biodiversity occurrences, they're really great. They are really, perfect.
And because you can put together the field guides, and then once you have all that information, you've got like 2 ways to engage people with it, because you've got the people that maybe are just there for a day or 2 or whatever they're doing, and they can use iNaturalist and record phenology, but then people that want to get a little more into the details about actual phenophases can go and enter the observations into Nature's Notebook.
In the description of some of the species, we actually link to a picture that is on iNaturalist.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Yep.
so.
Cool.
Yeah, there's a lot, well, so many more pictures now in iNaturalist that are usable.
Yeah. Yeah, they're doing a
yeah,
good job now. Yeah.
Exactly.
And designing new trails too, having people go out and take pictures and trying to get people involved, and they can say, okay, well, we know this plant is here in this spot, so we can use that one in our actual monitoring route.
Yes, exactly. Good.
Yeah,
See,
we
I
have.
knew you guys would solve all the problems. Totally solved all the problems.
Just be
We have-
careful with that stuff though as well, because sometimes if you end up finding something really rare and you end up making a lot of trails, and especially for our precious baby orchids,
Oh, yeah.
walking with even a few feet of them can kill them.
But
We
you
don't
know
want to
that
send people to them.
there is something that is very cool, because I was worried about that. So I recorded some endangered species. I was in Africa, etc. And so you can obscure or obfuscate a location, right?
And that
But
actually automatically happens. if it's-
Exactly. I learned that they do that automatically. So, which is great, because you want this level of protection. Yeah.
Is there a way, I wonder, if somebody was really interested in actually studying that species and the location, can they obtain that on the other side of it that's not publicly available?
From a scientific perspective, when they go on the science database.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, and I've actually had someone, you can message through profiling that you say, oh, you saw this in this location. Do you know where exactly you were? Because it's obscured. So then
Gotcha.
correspondence too.
Yeah, we've also been talking about, because a lot of people are starting to want to track endangered species in Nature's Notebook, and we don't do it for that reason, because we don't want people to find them and do something nefarious. But we were talking about ways to make it that way, so that the locations are obscured for the individuals.
I think it would be very good, because what Nature's Notebook has is the life history of of a specific species. So that would be very important to do that.
Yes, exactly.
And when doing that, just make sure all the metadata is deleted. Maybe you don't have to worry about all the camera stuff, but if people aren't careful, when you're especially taking pictures with phones, they can take the latitude and longitude within 20 feet of where it is. So it's, that's the Maryland state botanist had a fun concern, but it's very easy to delete that stuff. You just got to make sure that it's done. Yeah. And it's good to go.
Good tip.
And I hope that iNaturalists actually do that on the picture itself, on the image, right? Because it's one thing to obfuscate the data in their record, but on the picture. So that's an important question.
If you update it as a PNG, it should get rid of it, if I recall. But I don't know if that's the default upload format for it. Usually it's not, but yeah.
I haven't looked closely enough to know the answer to any of those questions. So, okay, well, this was great. How do you guys feel about it? Give me a thumbs up if this was a good way to spend an hour. Thumbs down if this was like a waste of your time. Thumbs to the side if you have no.
Where are your thumbs, Erin?
They're up. Both of them are up.
Okay. Thumbs are up. Good. That's awesome. So maybe what we'll do, if you guys are game, is next month we can talk about next steps on how to actually make some of these things and take them to the next level, the next step. I mean, I am definitely happy to write more curriculum and do all that stuff, but I certainly need help from you guys too. So I think if we can crowdsource that internally with your assistance and your wonderful ideas, we'll be able to move things forward a little bit faster. So, and then we can just take the temperature of where we are at the end of next month's call in January, or we're going to do it in January. We're not going to do it in December. I should say that, because December is like all bets are off. So this will be for the January call, where we kind of come back together and revisit our notes. And then even if you guys can't be there and you have something you want to share, let's make sure we get it noted on the Google Doc so that the group can discuss it. And then we'll just see where we are, and we can go from there. So, all right. And does anybody have anything else that they want?
I have a quick question, because I was taking notes, not during this meeting, but it might not be related. But when we entered the records of whatever, a site specifically, is it possible, or if you can send me where I can send this request, to have actually a general description a box, right? Text box, input box, where we can add stuff, right? Because often what we do on the piece of paper where we have the protocol, the copy is what we have, we say, okay, I also heard that. So we don't necessarily want to have a full record, but we make mental notes somehow that there was also a blue jay, whatever, etc. Like that, we can keep track a little bit of what might be interesting to monitor later on.
Yes.
So having a general input box for a kind of a general description, not per species, but a general for the site that day or that record, that would be great.
Yes, we have that actually rolling out very soon. We can't do that at the day level, I guess is what you would call it, every day where you go out.
The record level.
Yeah, that's where it's going to be. Right now, you just have the ability to add it to an individual observation. So there's a comment box there, but we are putting it at the top.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So
wonderful.
It's coming.
Great.
Stay tuned within a month or two. I think the guys have it coded pretty soon. So
it makes me super happy.
Yay, good. Me too.
And otherwise, thank you, because so little success is we have made the request for something like 3, 4, 5 species that are not currently in the database, and we just received notification that they're going to be included. So
yay. Yes, I saw Ellen was working on those, so hooray. I'm glad.
Wonderful. Thank you.
That's great. You're welcome. No problem. All right, friends. Any other questions or comments for the good of the group?
One more comment. At the end of our discussion, Linda mentioned that she wanted some assistance or some ideas on partners and partnering with those groups that you might not normally think of partnering with. And I would love to have a hour-long discussion with all of you about that sometime. So
okay,
maybe
yeah,
it's a topic for another time.
Yeah, for sure. That's a good thing. That's the other thing I was going to tell y'all is I have a form on the monthly call reminder where you can add a topic. So I'll keep that there. So if you ever wake up in the middle of the night and have an idea for a call, just go ahead and put it on there and we will have that running list. But I'll add that one that you just said, Amanda, to it. Maybe we can, what we're going to do is we'll finish this discussion in January. And then in February, I had promised a bunch of people that we would take a closer look at the protocols and intensity stuff. So Ellen's going to join us for that call and answer some questions related to the protocols. So maybe in March, we can do the discussion about ideas for groups that you might not have thought of. So,
Sounds good.
Sound good?
Sounds good.
Excellent. Okay, well, thank you all for participating in this new inaugural format. Hope it was beneficial. Sounds like we got a little work done, so that's good.
Yeah.
It's nice when you're doing your work in discussion mode because then it seems easier. Anyway, to me it does. So. All right. Well, have a wonderful Thanksgiving and holidays. I will see you guys in cyberspace in the meantime. And then just look for, I'll send out the notes too, so you'll get those.